Hello and welcome to this edition of Consider This. I'm your host, Charles Lake. And let's get right over to business here. And we'll, if you can afford it, and only if you can afford it, $5 a month, you can go to our Patreon site where you can get these. Right now they're free until the end of this month. And I might extend that a little bit because I have to start getting this out and really I've been doing too much research. So we're gonna go down to I showed you this last week, but there's a little more we've got. It's a little more involved. So the FDA removed 7 synthetic flavorings. Okay, notice the word synthetic. That's a big point here. Styrene is not natural. It's a synthetic flavor that they used to put into food. They say they're not doing it no more, but the FDA kind of left it a little vague by saying it's being delisted because it's no longer used in the industry, which is not exactly true. They were backing off on it back in 2015, but we don't know if they stopped using it or not. So we're going to leave it at that. But the reason it was eliminated is because although we are amending our food additive regulations for synthetic flavoring substance in accordance with the Delaney Clause, the FDA's rigorous scientific analyst that determines that they do not pose a risk to public health under conditions of their use. Well, they eliminated styrene as a food additive. It's a synthetic food additive. So if they got rid of that, in 2013 they were bragging that the FDA determines polystyrene is safe for use in contact with food. Well, polystyrene, if you take the poly off, it's styrene. And that's the chemical that leaches into your food from the polystyrene food container. So, in addition to that, they were bragging in 2000, I feel they were bragging, because they had to put, in addition, it has approved styrene as a food additive. So, they're trying to say, oh, yeah, it's good for you. Well, it's not good for you. It's very bad for you. And their acceptable daily intake value is calculated to be 90,000 micrograms per person. And they feel that the micrograms that come out of the polystyrene is less than that. But it depends on what you put in the polystyrene. If you put like a cup of coffee, if you pour yourself a cup of coffee in a styrofoam cup, before you put the milk in it, if you look at the cup, it looks like an oil slick on the top. That's the styrene leaching out of the cup, because styrene's not really natural, but it also comes from oil products. So that's why it's got like an oil film on the top of your cup. And you might as well smoke a couple packs of cigarettes, because the other way you get styrene into your body is by smoking cigarettes. And if you take the side effects from tobacco smoke on one hand, and you look at the chemical styrene, the side effects of styrene on the other hand, they almost mirror each other. There are just very few discrepancies between the two. So styrene in my opinion, is worse than any other chemical in the tobacco smoke because it has so many of the same traits as tobacco smoke. Okay, so we've been there. And so in 2000, now how do we trust the FDA to do what's right? Especially when we got the Academy of Pediatrics in 2018, which let's look at this. October 5th, 2018 is when they said, oh, styrene's no longer needed. Now, if we look at this is July of 2018 when the Academy of Pediatrics came out and said that 4,000 additives were just grandfathered in, and 64% of them had no research showing that they were safe for people to eat or drink. So how is the FDA making our life better? They're not. Here's the other thing is, in July, the Academy of Pediatrics said, don't avoid feeding your children off of recycling codes 3, 6, and 7. 6 is styrene. I mean, it's clear as day, styrene. 7 is biphenol, and that's BPA. So these 3 recycling codes that are on your plastic, you should not be feeding your kids. You shouldn't be eating off them neither. So it's who do we listen to? I mean, our doctors are telling us one thing. All our researchers are telling us it's a toxin. It's a toxin. And here the FDA is saying, no, it just, it seems that the FDA is more of let's put it this way. They protect the corporations, and it's kind of a corporate welfare to keep these businesses going, even though it's costing people, the American people around the world, but in our case, the American people, all the health effects of these chemicals that cause diabetes, hypertension, thyroidism, breast cancer, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And we'll get more into that a little bit later. But I needed to show you this. This is from the CDC, and it was done in, let's see here, when was it done? 2009, November 2009, which quite a ways back, but people may be exposed to styrene by breathing the air, which is right, because anything that burns creates styrene, benzene, and formaldehyde. So your car exhaust, your diesel exhaust, anything that you burn outside, even firewood has some styrene in it. It's not as much as auto exhaust, but there's still, if you're burning plastic, it has a whole lot of dioxin and things that are very cancerous. So that's not a good thing to burn. I know a lot of guys that do junking, they get wire and they just throw a little bit of gas on it and burn the insulation off and take the copper to the. I've seen that, and I was like, man, you don't know the harm you're causing yourself. So the human health effects from low exposure environmental effects of styrene is unknown, which now isn't as true as it was back in 2009. But if we look at, and it tells us further down to check out this a let's see what they call themselves here. The Agency for Toxic Substance and Disease Registry. They tell us to check this out, and it gives us a little more. Styrene can be found in air, water, and soil after release from manufacture, use, and disposal of styrene products. So if you live next to a place that like makes polystyrene food containers or any plastics, you're going to have a lot of styrene will dispute through the air and whatnot. But how might I be exposed? Breathing indoor air that's contaminated with styrene vapors from building materials. It's not just building materials, it's your furniture. If your furniture is put together with particle board or all the glues that are used, your carpets, your underlayment of carpet, depends on what kind of insulation you've got in your walls. And then again, it's your building projects that are glued together and whatnot. Cigarette smoke and photocopy machines, along with laser machines and whiteout, is basically styrene. Breathing automobile exhaust, including diesel. Breathing contaminated workplace air or skin contact with styrene and resins, which you can get at home too if you're using certain glues, resinated glues and stuff. If you get on your fingers and stuff, it can go right through your skin into your body. Drinking or bathing in contaminated water. Living near industrial facilities or hazmat sites. Smoking cigarettes or eating food off of packaged in polystyrene containers. Small amounts of styrene can be, so there you go. They say small amounts, but it can be more than you want. In fact, if you put I used to get these all the time. I used to get French fries over in Pennsylvania, and they used to put melted cheese on it, and they'd have it on them styrofoam clamshells. And by the time I got over to work, to the depot I worked out of, half of the styrofoam was missing. And I was like, I was just a dumb truck driver at the time. I wasn't as educated as I am now. And I figured it was going somewhere, but I didn't know exactly where. Well, it's going in my food and I was eating it. And that's why I always had gastrointestinal problems after I ate them. And it wasn't happy. It wasn't a good time. Okay. Now here it says, how can styrene affect my children? Okay, now on other studies in other evaluations of styrene, they say right in it that children are not adults. Their bodies are different. They're under a lot more. Their bodies are a lot more stressed than an adult's body. An adult, you're already grown up, and you are what you are. You can get fat, you can get skinny. But other than that, your bones aren't growing. You are not a child anymore. But studies in workers, but nursing infants can be exposed to styrene from breast milk. Now, we've known that since, I believe it was 85, that they did 3 studies, one in Paris, one in Japan, and one in the United States. And all 3 studies came out 100% that there was styrene in the breast milk, along with several other chemicals in the same class as styrene. So our children are and they still say it's better the breast milk than cow's milk or the infant formula. So that's concerning there, because, okay, it took us about 100 years to get here to where our bodies are breaking down as adults. And now it seems like when I was in high school, hardly anybody had diabetes that was in high school. You might have found one student out of a couple 100,000. But nowadays, they're type 1 diabetes and type 2. And kids are coming up with it left and right. And that's because the FDA has taken the side of corporations and not the people. So, and this next one here, we're going to go into a lot of this further down the road. This study was done in Spain. Microplastics found in every human placenta, not speaking properly this morning, tested in the study. Okay. So, microplastics have been found in, so we know that. Microplastics have also recently been discovered in human blood. I believe that was 2018. And breast milk, I don't know when they discovered that, but it makes sense. If microplastics, that's very small pieces of plastic, is in your blood, it's in every part of your body, because your blood feeds your body. So they have been shown to damage human cells. So here we go. I have a couple other articles, medical articles, that show that they're concerned about different parts of the brain. And they're also worried about, well, are we having our arteries clogged by plastic, or are we having our arteries clogged because of what do they call it? Plaque. Plaque in the blood. So really, until they pull it out of you and analyze it, you don't know. And after they analyze it, you still might not know. They might not tell you. So this is concerning. Yes. I'm hoping that you'll stick with us here and try to get some of this done. Write a letter to your congressman. Write a letter to your senator. Writing a letter to your states, pretty much. And let's go to the website. If you live in any of these states here, where it's they don't want to have bans on the polystyrene or the plastic. They just want to make the money off of it. And it's mostly red states, which, I voted both ways. I'm an independent. And if a Republican was going to do something to help us, I would vote for him. I voted for Assemblyman Tague over the Democrat who was going to try to do a flim-flam on getting polystyrene out of our area. And he was gonna buy polystyrene trays and then sell them for half price, and the taxpayers would have ended up paying the bill. And I said, no, and I spoke to Mr. Teague, and I explained to him what I was doing and why I was doing it. And he wrote me a nice letter to send to the New York legislature. And there were many other people in New York working on this. It wasn't just me. And the DEC finally banned the polystyrene food containers for 5 years. I think there's only 2 years left of the ban. So New York's got to get their act together. If you live in these states here, you have a bill. I mean, you could write them and see if they'll get off their duff. Like California. California has over 200 different laws for different communities in the state, but they don't have a state bill. That's how stupid is that? You go from one community to another, and since the pandemic, the community I live in has lifted the ban, and I wrote a letter recently to my assembly person, and I told her by doing that, 1 in 3 people are diabetic or pre-diabetic. And COVID attacked people with diabetes. So by lifting the ban, how many people did you get sick? That's what it comes down to. By lifting the ban and putting more styrene out there, and we're eating it, and it's affecting your body. Some people don't even feel how it's affecting their body. And next thing you know, but what I wanted to show you down here, and we'll go down to the styrene industry, and most of the styrene, let me make this bigger, most of the styrene is made out of ethyl benzene, and that is produced in nature. And it's man-made, 99%, okay? So this is, darn. I have 2 different size monitors, so you can't really see it. But home products used in insulation, common household appliances, and toys. Food products, carpeting, and paper coating. Styrene is used in. Holds fiber in place and structural stability, because styrene is also used as a glue. Safety product. So I apologize that I've got to get another monitor, but I have to use what I have. So, but this is basically the building blocks of the styrene, and so we hope that you stay with us, and please, if you can be a patron on our Patreon site, and all you have to do is, if you go to comfortandcolor.com, click on the truck, this page, wow, that was quick, the page will pop up, and then you can just click on this Patreon site, and all our work will be here. So please be a patron. Click on it, join for free. If you can, be a patron for $5 a month. We try to put up 4 shows a month. I have to do another show this week to make the 4 shows for this, but I believe the information is good. I give it to you right off of the medical documentation. We don't try to fool around here. This is your health. You should be able to take care of yourself without, like, what do you say? How is the FDA working for you when they're putting product on the market that is ends up causing you your life? Because diabetes ends in death. Hypertension could end in death. A lot of the diseases that this chemical causes will make you end in death. So, make believe you're taking me out for coffee, give me the $5 a month, keep our information going for you, and you can give up any time you'd like, or you can stay with us and take this trip and see if we can get the FDA and other government agencies to get off their backside and work for the people instead of the corporations. Maybe then we can get somewhere. I thank you for listening today. I hope you have a very pleasant day or night, depending on where you're at, and stay safe and stay healthy. Bye.